Aloha, and how about a brand new golf season? Happy New Year. Hope you guys enjoyed the very short off season, a couple of weeks, but in a couple of weeks, a lot has gotten done on my end. And I'm going to show you that as we go through this preview of the Sentry. But I've got new tools to show you. I've got two different one and done leagues for you to get into. I've got information about season long fantasy, and I've got a new partnership that I think you guys are going to be pretty excited for. So there is a lot to go through. Besides the fact that we're going to cover the statistical extremes of this golf course, we're going to go through the field like we do each and every week and break it down and see who has the best chance to separate themselves from everybody else. So I'm absolutely stoked to be back. Thank you all so much for the support here in 2024. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. All right, here's my website, RickRunGood.com. And for the most part, everything you see is going to be from my website. It's a giant golf database for fantasy and betting. I love it. I think you will love it too. We always start with the golf course, and it's going to be no different this week. 59 golfers, a no-cut event. It's no longer the Tournament of Champions. It is the Sentry, and it is now open to those who both won last year and those who finished in the top, I think it's 50, of the FedEx Cup standing. So there are 59 golfers. The only golfer who is eligible, who will not be teeing it up this week, Rory McIlroy. So 59 golfers, no cut, and we start in Maui. This golf course statistically is very, very unique. The scorecard says it's about 7,600 yards. It will play nowhere near that despite being at sea level. There's a ton of undulation. There is a ton of rollout. You see very long drives here. That is extreme. The wide fairways off the tee at some points 100 yards wide. Very extreme. In fact, this is the only golf course on the PGA Tour schedule that technically does not have a missed fairway penalty. There's a couple of things that go into that. I wrote about it on RickRunGood.com, but everybody's playing out of the fairway. And if you're not, for the most part, it's not that big of a deal because everybody's playing out of those same spots. More on that in just 1 second. Then you get some of the largest greens that we get on the PGA Tour schedule. It's a par 73. There is just so much extreme about this golf course on paper. When you look at the correlated stats, which is a breakdown of the last 12 years of data, looking at the types of golfers that have had the most success at each golf course, and then looking at the stats that they are the best at, driving accuracy has actually been negatively correlated to success. That's bonkers. That rarely happens because accuracy doesn't really matter. You can be JJ Spawn. You can be Brendan Todd. You can be a shorter hitter. As long as you're hitting the correct side of the fairway, get the same result, the same rollout as your much longer peers. Distance does come into play on the second shot. You'll see driving distance show up here on the model as the fifth most important, meaning that there are only 4 other courses on the PGA Tour schedule in which driving distance is more important. It is third in strokes gained approach, which means there's only 2 other courses in which driving distance is, in which strokes gained approach is more important. I'm a little rusty, coming off an off-season break. Strokes gained putting is number 1. Tee to green is number. I mean, it's just such an extreme stat profile. I'm going to break this down a little bit for you in what I see. To me, this is by far a second shot golf course. I'm going to show you where the tee shots land at Kapalua. Okay, so let me see here. So when you drive it off the tee, this is just a very quick graphic that I put together. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, I'm showing basically every single par 4 and par 5 at Kapalua. I'm showing you the shot by shot data to show you the plot of where these balls land, and you will see there is such a congregation of shots. Collection areas. You look down here on the bottom right, almost every single golfer, no matter how good they are off the tee, how bad they are, how short, how long, is playing from the same spot on the second shot. And the reason for that is these massive undulations. You get it rolling down the hill and everything just goes to the same exact spot. That's quite rare on the PGA Tour. It's quite rare to have this lack of dispersion of tee shots. And what that means to me is that it doesn't really matter how good you are off the tee. You're going to get a very similar result. There are very few spots in which great drivers are going to be able to separate themselves from everybody else. So when you put everybody, whether it's in the fairway or whether it's here on number one, where everybody just kind of hits it 2 yards through the fairway and into the rough. When you put everybody into the same spot for your second shot, it turns this golf course into just an approach fest. I don't know if that's the word I was looking for. A bonanza, right? It's just now you've removed one aspect of the game. Everybody's playing from the same spot. The second shot players, the best approach players, are going to now separate themselves. There's a lot more dispersion on the second shots when everybody's playing in from 100 yards or 150 yards or whatever that looks like. And what that does look like is a lot of wedges in. So over 42% of shots last year, approach shots, came from inside 100 yards, which is more than the PGA Tour average. In fact, the two proximity buckets that were more than the PGA Tour average were shots inside 100 yards and shots from 100 to 125. So there are issues with proximity buckets. Obviously, we talk about that a lot, but when you get those two right next to each other, basically 125 yards in, are the only two buckets that are over the tour average for those buckets. You got to take a look, and on the left-hand side, I'm showing you what the average approach numbers were for each one of these holes. So when you put that together, to me, this is a golf course that is looking for, doesn't really matter what you do off the tee, be a great wedge player, particularly from 125 yards and in, and then you are going to have to make a lot of putts. This is a situation where the winning score likely to be 25, maybe 30 under par, depending on wind conditions. You are going to have to make a lot of putts. It is kind of a prerequisite for success around this place if you actually want to win the golf course. If you look at the last 36 rounds and you take the stats from the top portion of the screen and you apply those stats based on what each one of these golfers has done in the last 36, Ludwig Oberg gets the best adjusted course fit number. Not only is he great off the tee, which he gets a benefit from distance, which he sees more on the second shot than he sees on the first shot here, but he also gets a great benefit on everywhere else. He's been phenomenal. Approach play around the green, he's just been phenomenal. Viktor Hovland 2, Scotty Scheffler 3, Xander Schauffele 4, JT Poston rounding out the top 5. You can adjust the number of rounds that you want here if you want to view this for more recent, or if you want to reset everybody back to a larger sample size because we've had some time off. We haven't seen some of these guys in quite a bit. I would be okay with you doing that as well. All right, here is the cheat sheet at RickRunGood.com. I've got it sorted by salary. There are 3 golfers over $10,000. They are Scotty Scheffler, they are Viktor Hovland, and they are Xander Schauffele. Scotty Scheffler, I think, is obviously fascinating. Number 1 player in the world. He's fresh off of his win at the Hero World Challenge. The question is going to be, can Scotty putt? Right? I'm just pull my string. I'll say the same thing we said last year. Can Scotty putt? And the good news about this is Scotty has played this event twice. And if I can spell it correctly, Scotty has played this event twice, 2023 and 2022. He has never lost strokes putting at the Plantation Course at Kapalua. He's gained 3 strokes putting last year. He gained 1.5 2 years ago. When you look at his 2023 as a whole, there were only, I believe, the only week that he putted better in the entirety of 2023 was the Phoenix Open. He won that event. So there is at least probably a little bit of confidence. He's been working with a new putting instructor. He goes and gains a stroke or just below that for the Hero World Challenge. I think there's a lot of positivity for Scotty to just go out and demolish this place, right? That is honestly how I feel. I think he is very well deserving of the top price. And I think that there is a lot of there are guys, when you look at this, where there is not much more juice that you could squeeze out of their game. There is like another stroke per round you could squeeze out of Scotty's game, which is terrifying because he's been by far the best player in the world for a long time, and he's gaining basically 2 strokes per round, and he's doing some things that only Tiger did from tee to green. I think there's like seriously another half a stroke or a stroke per round to squeeze out of it, which is terrifying for the rest of the world. Victor Hovland emerged in 2023 as maybe the next number one player in the world. His results coming down the stretch of the PGA Tour season with the win at the BMW Championship, the win at the Tour Championship. He was phenomenal at the Ryder Cup, et cetera, et cetera. Just unmatched. There are a couple of red flags that I would worry about. You look at his history at the Tournament of Champions, and it's not very good. He's played here 3 times, last 3 years, and he's finished T31, T30, T18. Remember, these are small fields. And even worse, he's really struggled with the flat stick. He's never gained strokes putting on these surfaces, and he's lost 4.5, 3, and then he lost just a smidge in 2023. Could that turn around? He's had a great year putting. I got to stop saying the word phenomenal. I feel like I've said it 100 times already, but it is something to be worried about, because when you look at every golfer in this field at the Plantation Course and you sort this by strokes gained putting or the bottom end of strokes gained putting, Victor Hovland is the 3rd worst putter here of guys that have played at least 12 rounds. So Lucas Glover has lost a stroke and a quarter in his 12 rounds. Keegan Bradley has lost a stroke per round in his 15 rounds. And then you get Victor Hovland, who's lost 2/3 of a stroke putting in his 12 rounds. Still very much trying to figure out what he changes so frequently. He's so young. His skill set evolves fast. We'll see if he's able to kind of defeat the putting demons, but it has not been good for Victor at the Tournament of Champions or the Sentry. Now, on the other end of things, while I have this up here, here's Xander Schauffele. There's not many guys who have played as many rounds at the Plantation Course as Xander has. He won this event in 2019. Remember that one? He's got a runner-up finish, a 5th place finish. He did withdraw in 2023. Remember that? It was like a weird back injury. He said he's like never been hurt before, and then he withdrew after, I want to say, just 1 round last year, and that even with that big negative in 2023, it does not bring down his average at the Plantation Course enough, right? I mean, there's only one guy who has played as many rounds as Xander Schauffele as well at this golf course, and it's Jordan Spieth. So Xander still cranking here, I think is a very viable option to be in contention, right? A high floor golfer. Is he going to close out and win? TBD. No idea. Probably not. If you give me any one golfer, I'm going to say they're probably not going to win. That's not a hot take by any stretch, but for him to be in contention, it makes a lot of sense. His tee to green play is great. He's one of the best putters. Actually, I was doing, do I have this handy? I was doing a little bit of putting research, and I was looking at, putts that were 8 feet. Actually, technically 7.5 feet to 8.5 feet, and how frequently guys are making those. And Xander makes them at a very, very high clip, especially ones for birdie. And those are usually coin flips on the PGA Tour. They're 50-50. He makes like 61% of them or something like that. So he's a much better, I don't know how to put this, like birdie putter than people give him credit for. So he's certainly capable of filling it up. I'd be interested to see what the ownership looks like for these top 3. I love Victor. I'll probably bet him outright as I do every single week, but I think there's a lot of interesting, viable reasons to play Scotty, to play Xander, and then see, especially if Victor gets popular, it's probably out from me in a game theories perspective. We chug along to the 9K range here. After this range, I'll show you the new tools. I'll show you the one and done stuff, but stay tuned for that. So we've got Patrick Cantlay, Max Homa, Wyndham Clark, Matt Fitzpatrick, Brian Harmon, Terrell Hatton. Then we rounded out with Colin Morikawa and Tommy Fleetwood. Okay, a lot here. I think any one of these guys can win the golf tournament. Patrick Cantlay, a little bit just lukewarm on. His history at this golf course is good. I'm not sure it's great. He has 2 top 5 finishes, and then he's got 3 finishes, 15th, 13th, and 16th. Again, it's always a small field. Sometimes as small as like 30 golfers. This is okay. The one thing that worries me a little bit is he is not very good, or at least in 2023, he was not very good on those wedge buckets, at least compared to some of his peers, right? From 50 to 125 yards, it's a big range, but he was 93rd on the PGA Tour. From 100 to 125, he was a little bit better, 47th, 125 to 150th, 48th. So he's kind of living in that 40 to 50 range with the shorter irons. He's much better, and he's able to separate himself on the long irons. He's number 1 in going for the green, green. He's great from 200 to 225. He hits the green a lot when he goes for it in two. So I expect him to be able to pick apart these par fives. I do wonder if he's got enough on the fours and the threes, especially with a lot of those wedge shots that are going to be coming in on the shorter holes, if he's able to separate himself enough there. So a little bit lukewarm. I think he's very fairly priced. The golfer that I'm most excited about is Collin Morikawa. And you've got to, if you've been following along, I'm very much a believer that Collin is going to have a big 2024. The metrics in 2023, where he did not win until the Zozo just recently in October, were just as good as the other versions of Collin that we have seen, where he was piling up victories. So I still see an elite approach player, a very good driver of the ball, and somebody that can get hot enough with the putter and win. His metrics are very good here and very good, like, course fit wise. So course history, he's played here 4 times, 7th, 7th, 5th, 2nd. The reason in which he is probably so good here is because he is one of the best players with a wedge in hand. Now, he's one of the best players from basically 200 yards and in, or at least he was in 2023. He was 6th from 175 to 200, 6th from 150 to 175, 7th from 125 to 150, 2nd from 100 to 125. That is a 100-yard range in which he was no worse than 7th. He's actually 13th and 10th on longer than that, and shorter than that, or at least a larger bucket, 50 to 125, he was 2nd. Yikes. Okay. Collin is dirty on the second shot. It's sickening. Don't listen to him when he tells you his swing is is out of whack or it's in flux. Do not listen to him. He is phenomenal. I said it again. He makes enough birdies. I'm going to get a thesaurus around here at some point, but this is so good to get him at $9,100. I mean, he's cheaper than Wyndham Clark. He's cheaper than Brian Harman. I'm excited about Matt Fitzpatrick this year. He keeps adding distance. He just showed on Instagram or somewhere what his swing speed and his ball speed's up to. He's played well at this event. He played well at the Hero. I'm excited about Matt Fitzpatrick, but in no way should Matt Fitzpatrick be $400 more expensive than Collin Morikawa. I think that is absolute silliness. So Fitzpatrick, Collin, and then the other thing that I wanted to point out here, and I'll go to the power rankings for this. I want to find Tommy. Yeah. So this is the last 50 rounds. 50 rounds was Ludwig's entirety of a pro 2023. 50 rounds is about half a year for most of these guys. A lot of guys play closer to 100 for a full year. Last 50 rounds for everybody in this field, Tommy Fleetwood was the 6th best player. He gained a stroke and 3/4 per round. He did it very well rounded, gained a half a stroke off the tee, a half a stroke on approach, a half a stroke with the putter, and he was a positive around the green player. I mean, it is so darn good. The other thing is when you look at this is something I was researching a couple weeks ago. I might have put it out in a newsletter. I can't remember, but basically the idea of strokes gained, how often a golfer gains 5 or more strokes to the field in a single round, what their averages are, and then comparing it to wins. Because winning is a luck thing. There's a lot of luck that's involved in winning. Tommy Fleetwood is like one of the top guys to break out and have multiple wins in 2024. And he had another close call at the DP World Tour Championship. He played well at the Ryder Cup. He's been all around it, right? 6th at the BMW PGA Championship. By the way, RickRunGood.com. I cover 6 tours. So I've got the PGA Tour data. I've got the European Tour data. I've got Live, Asian, Senior Tour, Korn Ferry Tour. So you're getting a complete picture for all of these golfers. I'd be buying a lot of stock in Tommy Fleetwood right now for 2024. It feels like those wins are coming. The stats allude to the same thing. Okay, before we get to the 8K range, I do want to show you some of the stuff that I've been working on. If you are a Rick Run Good subscriber, I think you're going to be pretty excited about this. If you're not, if you're just watching this for free, I mean, you're going to see cool stuff. I think you'll be excited about it as well. So I've spent a lot of time this offseason to do a couple of items. Number one is to redo the golfer profiles. And these things that I'm showing you are not live yet. They are on my staging server. So I'm just making sure everything's in order, testing everything, and then I will push it live. Hopefully, I think the Sony Open is probably a good target for these. So I'm hoping to have this stuff out within the next week. This is the new golfer profile page. And what it is going to allow you to do is just get a much better idea for the fantasy scoring of these golfers, for the skill set, for their trends. You're going to be able to click through and see how they played in each round, which is something that you didn't have access to. You had to do that in the Holy Grail previously. It's going to show you as many years of statistics as you want. You're going to still be able to have all your filtering for major championships, for years, for tournaments, for courses, for all of that stuff. So all of this is here for you. I'm really excited about it. And now this connects now to the custom model. So when you favorite a golfer on the custom model, they show up favorited on the golfer profiles and vice versa. It is also, when you are on the custom model and you click a golfer's name, it is going to take you to their golfer profile page. So it is just making the website much more cohesive, more data, powering it up. It's got odds, it's got ownership, it's got fantasy points, all that stuff. Okay. So really happy about this. It was a much needed improvement to the golfer profiles. I'm not raising prices or anything like that. So if you're a RickRunGood subscriber, you're getting this, you're getting access to it. The other thing that I wanted to make an update to was to the live leaderboard. So if you've ever heard me before, I think that RickRunGood.com, it looks forward. It does a lot of, projections and modeling. It looks backwards. There is a lot of historical data on it. I need to do a better job of kind of being the in-game as well, the live as well. So what I did is I partnered up with IMG to bring you a live shot tracker on RickRunGood.com. So basically this might be a little slow. It's on my staging server, but you're going to be able to see live leaderboards. You're going to be able to see the hole by hole shot breakdown with the course imagery, see everybody's scorecard, see everybody's stats, see everybody's strokes gained numbers in real time. You're going to be able to click around to different groups and go see whatever hole you want on these golf courses. Hopefully this will load here. Again, this is my staging server. Here we go. Yeah, you'll be able to see shot by shot. You'll be able to click around and rotate everything and see, what you want for basically a live shot tracker. It'll be easier to follow matchups because you'll be able to click on groups and see those groups. You'll be able to see hole by hole, like I was mentioning, and do all the stats as well. So hope to have this up and running here in the next week or so. Not just for the PGA Tour, but how about this? All the European Tour events as well. So a live tracker for PGA, a live tracker for the Euro Tour. My goal being that you don't need to go anywhere else, right? You're going to go to RickRunGood on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you're going to go there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday as well. So I'm really excited about this. Again, I'm not changing prices. It's included. This is a value add. I build things because I think they're awesome for me. And I think what I like is what you guys are going to like. And I love this. This is something, I'll just tell you a quick story about how this came up. This is something that came up at the Ryder Cup, actually. So I was in Rome and I met with the IMG guys, and we were kind of talking about the technology, and we were standing on the first grandstand right behind the first tee, and we timed it. We timed how long from impact of a golf ball to it showing up in the tracker, and it was 8 seconds. We counted 8 seconds. Now, 5 of that, the golf ball was in the air. So that is how quickly the data is coming through. So I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to show it to you guys. Again, these two items are in testing. They will be in production soon. I'm hoping within the next week or so. So there's the plug to go sign up for RickRunGood.com, right? You're getting all the data as you are. You're getting constant improvements. I'm all in. Let's do it. Okay. I will talk more about one and done leagues, and I'll talk more about a new partnership, but let's get back to that 8K range and continue this conversation. The 8s starts with Tom Kim, goes down to Hideki Matsuyama. Okay. So when you start looking at statistical trends of golfers, you are going to see a lot of really good things for Tom Kim. We talked about this a lot in 2023. The first half of 2023 stunk for Tom Kim. The second half much better, in which he got back to his roots, which was gaining 4, 5, 6, 7 strokes on approach and getting really hot with the flat stick. So he goes out, and over the course of his final 9 events of the PGA Tour and European Tour season, I have those digits as well, he did not lose strokes putting, and he gained a ton along the way. So you're getting a short hitter, which doesn't matter here, with elite second shot play, which matters, who can get hot with the flat stick. Yes, yes, yes. All of that stuff adds up. He finished 5th here last year in his only trip. So again, buying stock on Tom Kim in 2024. Jordan Spieth, I find fascinating. I said this for the Hero World Challenge, and I kind of feel the same way this week. No idea if he's going to finish dead last. No idea if he is going to win the golf tournament. He has had a ton of success at the Plantation Course. If you look at it, it's a runner-up finish, a win. This goes back to 2014 as well, so nearly a decade. So you can write those off. But his 2 most recent starts, he's only played twice since 2018. We're a 21st and a 13th. That is a little bit more concerning, but plenty of good vibes. And what he did, at Albany was better. He gained 2 strokes on approach. So he broke a string of losing on approach. The putter still has not really cooperated. We talked about guys that I think there's a little bit more juice to squeeze out of. I think there's a little bit more to squeeze out of Jordan Spieth. I think you're going to get a lot of Jordan Spieth litmus tests early in the year. He's always played well here. Is he going to play well here again? Pebble Beach early in the year. Is he going to play well there again? By the time we get to the Masters, we're going to have a pretty good idea of Jordan Spieth. I will probably try to be early rather than late. I'll take a little bit of risk on Spieth this week as well. Ludwig, we've spent a lot of time. I don't think we need to talk about Ludwig. I almost said it again. He's outstanding. The game translates a lot of different places. He is $8,700. I think there is a decent chance that as this season goes on, he is firmly in the $9,000, $10,000 range. I think that highly of him. The stat profile is nuts. If you go to the power rankings, you can realize that he's got, he has a much smaller sample size than in 2023 than a lot of these other guys. But we look just purely at the last 50 rounds. Last 50 rounds, doesn't matter what the time frame is. There's only 3 golfers in this field who are gaining at least 2 strokes per round. It's Scotty Scheffler, it's Victor Hovland, and it's Ludwig Åberg. Holy crap. One of them is 11,000. The other is 10,500, and the third is $8,700. There is a really good chance the days of an $8,700 Ludwig do not last very long. The bottom of this range, Cameron Young, if you missed it, split with Paul Tesori. Remember this, I guess probably this time last year, a huge move where caddy Paul Tesori leaves Webb Simpson's bag after a dozen years, joins Cam Young, and everybody picks Cam Young to win everything. And it was a really bad year. It was a bad year. He didn't have a lot of great results. His stat profile is very concerning to me. And he now parts ways with Paul Tesori. Paul Tesori goes on Brendan Todd's bag. I did not hear who is going on Cam Young's bag for this week, or if that is something that might be permanent moving forward, if he's going to get somebody and it's going to be the same guy. This is a scary stat profile. Still driving it well, not as well as he did in 2022, but driving it well. The approach play is bad. The short game is bad, and the putter is worse. It is, I don't know if it is just a caddy thing or if it is the guy holding the club, but I'm going to play a wait and see approach on Cam Young. I've been doing it for 7 months. It's worked out just fine. Let me point out Sung J M. Sung J M has played here each of the last 3 years. He's finished no worse than 13th. Sung J M is statistically a very good golfer for this course because he is accurate off the tee and long enough. So he gets all the roll as everybody else. He plays to the correct fairway. He has gained, you look at the guys in terms of just gaining strokes off the tee at the Plantation Course. You have bombers like Cam Young, Luke List, but then it's Justin Rose, Colin Morikawa, Sung J M, 2, 3, and 4. Why? Why is that? Well, they can hit the correct spot of the fairway. You don't have to be super long. So Sung J M has gained the 5th most strokes off the tee of anybody in this field in 12 rounds. Then he piles on this this great second shot play and the ability to get lightning hot with the putter. Sung Jae had, I think, an underrated good year in 2023. We never really talked about him. I don't remember him being super in contention. He scored a ton of fantasy points along the way. He played a lot. He had a bunch of top tens. It didn't feel like it. I think this would be a really good spot for him to kind of get that conversation back in his direction. Before we get into the 7K range, speaking of fantasy points, my fantasy rankings are out. My live season-long fantasy rankings are on RickRunGood.com. I'll give you a quick look at them right now. Oh, quick, look. This is the top 19. It goes to the top 120 if you want to join a season-long league and do the drafts. They are up and running. We'll put the link in the description, but the Excel spreadsheet or the Google Doc with the leagues that are available and spots that are available is already up and running. We're seeing some leagues be filled up here. We are also, if you want to be a commissioner and start one, the only thing you have to do is create the league with the rules, which is very simple. I've posted them before. I'll post them in the description as well. And you can just post a league and that's it. You don't have to collect the money. You can use Fantrax for that. Drafts are starting. So my draft starts January 1st. It's a slow draft, so it's done online, but you can start this, admittedly, I think the 11th is when the Sony starts. So you've got some time to do this, but get involved. And also if you were in a league last year, you can just restart that league, right? You don't need me to do it. Go restart that league. Everybody who's in it, if they want to get in, can get in. If not, they can get out. So that's available. So season long. So we've got tools, we've got updates, we've got season long stuff. How about one and done? Rick, how about one and done? Okay, this is, there is a hard deadline to this, right? Because you got to be in before the Sony Open starts. And I know one and done is going crazy. By the time you're watching this, you may or may not have seen a one and done video from me this year. So this video will come out first, then the one and done video will come out probably Tuesday of the Sentry. I have two different leagues, two different one and done leagues that you can get in. You can get into both if you fit. One of the issues that we've had in the past is there has not been a global solution. I tried to do that myself. So I created, this is on a platform that I control, a one and done league. It's called RunGoodGolf.com. And what it is it is open to everyone and it will track everything. It is stat tracking. It is a global ranking system where you'll be placed into divisions of 72 golfers. If you are at the top of your division, you can be promoted to a better division. If you're at the bottom, you can be relegated. It has, so every single golfer has, every single user has their own profile page. You can earn badges based on accomplishments that you do. It's just a really fun league that's open to everyone. And the good news is, if you have ever participated in one of my one and dones in the past, I already have your data loaded in. Okay. Which is pretty cool. So you already have a profile page. You can sign up. You can be anywhere. This is for fun. This is for rankings. This is a global ranking system. There are prizes. They will be small. It's $39 to get in, but I got to worry about legalities. I got to worry about regulation worldwide. So there are prizes, but you will get some physical items, and then I'll do some giveaways as well. So you can check that all out. RunGoodGolf.com. Starts on the Sony Open, $39. If you are in the United States and you are in one of the 41 states that are participating, you can also get into the big money one and done on Splash. We've been using Splash for NFL Survivor. We used Splash for the weekly contests last year, and now they have one and done, which was kind of the point. I wanted something all under one roof. So this is $150 an entry, up to 3 entries. If we fill it, first place will be 30 grand. It pays out 15% of whatever amount of people get in. And it's a flat payout structure, which is something that I wanted to do. And it's all hosted on Splash Sports. 41 states, which is actually a lot of states, all things considered. But apologies to those in the 9 that aren't. Apologies to our Canada and Mexico and international friends. But I don't control this. It's the legalities of the big money league. So you can sign up for one, you can sign up for the other, you can sign up for both. I encourage you to be in both. I'll be in both. Will be a lot of fun. And Yeah, appreciate the support. Okay, let's keep going. 7K range. The 7K range is fun. Keegan Bradley, Sep Straka, all the way down to Siwoo Kim, Adam Hadwin, Nick Taylor. This is a larger field than previous years, so there is kind of a lot to go through here in the 7K range. There's the course fit guys are going to be like your Russell Henleys, these really good wedge players. It's a little bit different because we've had a break, and I do generally set a lot of these guys back to larger sample sizes. It's also why you'll hear me say I'm trying to buy stock in guys, because we don't have necessarily a ton of recent form. So guys that I just think are going to be trending for the new year. And one of the guys that I mentioned earlier, in terms of where when you look at their stats and compare it to their wins, it's not enough, is obviously Eric Cole. Eric Cole finished his last 5 events with 4 top 4 finishes, 0 wins. Hasn't missed a cut since the Charles Schwab. That was in May. Really great second shot player, can get hot with the putter. His big issue is he is not very good off the tee. He does not hit it far, and he does not hit it accurately. Now, you have to be like only a little bit accurate here, just find the correct side of the fairway. But if there was going to be a place where the poor driving doesn't matter, right? Statistically, it is actually negative. Driving accuracy is actually negatively correlated to success here. It's bonkers. This would be the guy, right? I think he's going to be quite popular because, he was the rookie of the year or whatever. And just like, I think he's going to be pretty popular, but $7,400, this is a really, really good spot for him. I continue to worry that Lucas Glover was kind of fool's gold. He always stripes it, right? Don't get me wrong. He always stripes it. Found this scorching hot putter for 4 out of 6 weeks, or really, if you just go back like 4 out of 40 weeks, and he won 2 of them. I've not seen the good putting. In fact, he's lost strokes putting in his last 3. He has lost strokes putting in 5 out of 7. The 2 events that we don't have putting metrics for, because we don't get the strokes game breakdown, he finished T59 and T45, which is not good finishes in those fields. So I worry about that. And if you look at his history at the Plantation Course, he played here last year. He lost 8 strokes putting and 5 on approach. He's probably not going to lose 5 on approach again. Could he lose 8 putting? Maybe. And then he played here in 2010, which I'm not even going to talk about, but I will talk about it because he lost 2 strokes putting. But I really, if I'm buying stocks of those other guys, I'd probably be shorting Lucas Glover, or at least selling high and just taking my profits and moving on. That's a pretty concerning situation that we have there. I think JT Poston's interesting. Another golfer who has been giving up strokes off the tee because he's not long enough and he's not accurate enough, but gets a really good course fit at this place. Otherwise, I'm interested in Harris English, a name that we haven't talked about. I assume he's healthy, right? Does anybody have any information on this? He played the Wyndham, played the FedEx St. Jude, played the BMW Championship. I suppose that is where his season ended. Then he played the RSM Classic in the fall and finished T28. Not a super finish, but he is playing a little bit better. He's won this event before. He's just gone through so much injury and bad play, and that kind of builds on one another. He is not back statistically to where he was in 2020 and 2021, which were awesome, but he is not in the valley of 2022. He is at least on his way out. And I think this is a kind of an interesting spot for him. And he's played well enough. He missed the cut at the Open Championship, missed the cut at the PGA Championship, missed the cut at the Players. Other than that, he made every single cut back to that point and played fairly well. So I'm like vaguely interested there in a range that there's not a ton that gets me excited. I am buying Denny McCarthy stock this year. I'm worried about Kurt Kitayama. I think Sahith, maybe next week, there are, if he plays next week, there are guys, he sprays it all over the yard. That's great, but he's not good enough with his wedges. So there's not a lot of guys that check off every single box here when it's course fit, course history, recent form, all that stuff. So I imagine Eric Cole is going to capture a ton of ownership. We'll see where Denny McCarthy lands. We'll see where JT Poston lands. Maybe we can pivot to a Harris English or something of that nature and kind of go from there. The 6K range is pretty good. Okay. Let me show you Tom Hoagie. Tom Hoagie did not have a good 2023. Tom Hoagie's, I think it was his best finish, was this event last year. And the reason was because he gained 10 and a half strokes, right here, 10.2 strokes on approach, because he is probably the best wedge player in the world, right? So his skill set is so magnified at this golf course. It's unbelievable. And he played probably better down the stretch than you remember, because you went to Wentworth, the BMW PGA Championship, a great event on the European Tour, finished T14, started in the fall, played in at the Sanderson, finished T13. He did miss the cut at the Shriners, and he finished T48 at the Zozo. But this is a really, really good spot for him at a very cheap price. Brendan Todd, if you talk about accuracy not mattering, turning in wedge play, turning into a great putter, and you get this boost of Paul Tesori on the bag, and maybe you get like a little, you guys play well together for the first time. Very, very viable at $6,900. I'm going to let the custom model probably take care of the rest of these guys, but Svensson's interesting. I remember for 9 straight weeks, I said Svensson's going to win the RSM Classic. Svensson's going to win the RSM Classic. Finished 5th. It was fine. Excited about him as well. And Mackenzie Hughes, who had what am I doing? Who had a stellar fall, impressive fall. Let's do the custom model, and then I will announce the new partnership. Custom model, RickRunGood.com. Okay, let's reset here. What are we going to do? We're going to do last 50 rounds. I think that's fair, right? Let's get a little bit of long-term stuff in here. What are we going to do on the weights? We are going to do a little bit of distance. 10. We're going to do nothing on accuracy. We are going to do we're going to do some buckets here. Some approach play buckets. We're going to do 10 on 50 to 75 yards. We are going to do 15 on 75 to 100, and we are going to do 15 on 100 to 125. We are also going to do opportunities gained for 10, which will be an overall approach metric that will also point to guys that make a ton of birdies. We are then going to do, we have 40 left. We are going to do 10 on Bermuda putting. We're going to do some scoring stats here. So we're going to do, birdie or better on 10. We are going to do par 5, strokes gained par 5. And then we are going to do course history. We're going to put our final 10 on Kapalua. Our number 1 golfer is Scotty Scheffler, which is no surprise. Scheffler, Xander, Homa is 3rd. Didn't talk about Homa. Colin is 4th. Sungjae is 5th. So 4 and 5 are 9,100 and 8,100. You see the problem here? Victor is 18th. It's not a good rank for the second most expensive golfer. Tom Kim is 6th. Ludwig is 7. Russell Henley is 8. Burns 9. Spieth 10. So again, look at the guys. Look at where compared to their salary. So Cantlay gets knocked down to 11th. We already talked about Victor. Look at guys that get bumps. Glover gets a big bump. Cole gets a big bump. They're 16 and 17. Hideki's pretty live here at 8,000. Plenty of guys in the 6K range that are inside the top 20 of my ranks. Chris Kirk is $6,800. He's 19th. Tom Hoagie, 6,700. He's 20th. Brendan Todd, there he is, 6,900, 22nd. So Finau gets a knockdown way down there. Fleetwood as well. Wow. Stinks. But yeah, this is a very wedge approach heavy model. I'll save this. We can talk about it on the Wednesday live show. Wow. The Wednesday live show. It's back, baby. Right? How about that? Oof, we are in the swing of things. That's 3 p.m. Eastern time, Rick Run Good YouTube channel. We are rocking and rolling. Okay. I've been putting it off long enough. So without further ado, the new partnership is Underdog Fantasy. Yes, let's go. Okay. So a lot of you, I'm sure, have heard of Underdog Fantasy. The reason that I thought it was a really good fit for kind of the Rick Run Good ecosystem is not only do they have the pick'em product, right? The more or less, the ability to build these entries, 2 to 5 entries. They do it in a great way where they've got live. You can get in there and do it live. I've been messing around with this the last couple of weeks as this has been coming together. And you can also do scorchers, which multiply it even more. But that's one thing. The thing that I'm really excited about is the drafts. So one of the common things that I have gotten, what common questions, common statements over the course of the last couple of years is, Rick, when is best ball going to come to golf? When best ball is taking over the world. Okay. And I get it. You draft once and you don't have to set lineups, and the best teams just continue to advance. Underdog does best ball better than anybody. They've got golf drafts. They've got obviously football ones, or every sport, but I cannot wait to do golf best balls with you guys. I cannot wait to do weekly drafts with you guys. I cannot wait to do weekly pick 'em with you guys across all sports. But I love the addition of pick'ems and drafting together. That is huge. So, I'm recording this, obviously early in the week. It's the Sunday before the Sentry. So there are not any pick'ems or anything out for the PGA Tour yet. So on the Wednesday show, we'll go through some options for golf. What I'll ask you to do is to get ready for that. Go deposit, use the code Rick. That'll be up to $100 deposit match, and we will be ready to rock and roll for later in this week. The other thing is, you guys know, I just love the idea of trying to find edges and trying to find ways to like take all their money, even though they're like a good partner and they've been awesome throughout this. The ability to try to come in here and make a couple of entries and, like, stick it to these guys. That's okay. We can do that. I have a dashboard that I use that looks through all the props to figure out if they're good values or not. So we're going to do a really good job of trying to get as much out of these guys as possible and stick it to them. But I'm proud of it. They've been a great partner so far. The tech is great. The app's awesome. I think they do a really good job, and I have their word about a commitment to golf, which is something that I'm really excited about. So go deposit. It is code Rick. There's a link in the description. That'll get you your $100 deposit match, and we will be going through this and add a new way to play with each other and to have some fun. I'm excited about the drafts. Pick 'em will be great as well. But yeah, it's a good fit. It's obviously a great fit. A lot of good guys over there. Okay. That will do it for this show. There is a lot more to come, especially early here in the year with all the fantasy stuff, all of the one and done stuff. It just gets crazy. There's a lot to cover. Go check out RickRunGood.com. Go check out my newsletter, RickRunGood.com/newsletter. Go on Tuesday. There's going to be a one and done video. Wednesday, we're going to do the live chat. There's so much coming, not only this week, but this year. I'm very excited to have you aboard. Let's ride.